From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Waodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Federal High Court Abuja remands former Justice Minister Abubakar Malami, son Abdulaziz and wife Asabe in Kuje and Suleja prisons after Economic and Financial Crimes Commission's rearrangement over alleged money laundering charges cases. FCT High Court grants 10 million naira bail each to Senior Advocate of Nigeria Michael Zekome and co-defendants after arraignment on 12-count criminal charge filed by the Attorney General of the Federation and prosecutors in Abuja. After months of speculation, Adamawa State Governor Omar Fintiri formally defects from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress, rephasing the state's political landscape ahead of elections. And former U.S. President Bill Clinton testifies in Jeffrey Epstein's probe, denying wrongdoing and insisting he saw nothing improper during all interaction-related matters.
On business news, Nigeria's GDP expands by 4.07% in fourth quarter of 2025.
On sports news tonight, Tanzanian club Singida Black Stars suspend Super Eagles goalkeeper Amas Obasogie for 3 months over alleged match fixing.
And from the nation's capital, defense headquarters defend the military assistance offered by the United States government to Nigeria, says it is at no cost to the nation. We begin tonight at the courts as Justice Joy Abdulmalik of the Federal High Court Abuja has remanded a former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami, his son Abdulaziz, and his wife Asabe at Kuje and Suleja Correctional Centers following their rearrangement by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on alleged money laundering charges. Justice Abdulmalik issued the order shortly after they pleaded not guilty to a 10-count charge, 16 counts to the tune of 8.7 billion naira corruption charges. The judge also granted the ex-AGF and his son 200 million naira bail in charges bordering on alleged terrorism and illegal possession of firearms brought against them by the Department of State Services, the DSS, and they were then remanded at the Kuje Correctional Center pending the perfection of their bail conditions. Our correspondent Emanuela Ekele reports.
The former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, his son and wife are back at the Federal High Court Abuja for their rearrangement on alleged fraud by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and also the hearing of his bail application on alleged terrorism financing and illegal possession of firearms brought against him by the Department of State Services, DSS. He is accompanied by his friends and associates who have come to witness the proceeding. The first case to be heard at the day's proceeding is his rearrangement by the EFCC. He, alongside his wife Asabe and son Abdulaziz, pleaded not guilty to the 16-count charge. His counsel, Joseph Daudu, had drawn the attention of the court to the January 7 bail granted by Justice Emeka Nwite of the same court. He urged the court to adopt the same bail conditions on the ground that the Federal High Court is one in Nigeria and in the interest of justice. Although the counsel to the EFCC, Jibrin Okutekpa, confirmed the grant and perfection of the bail conditions, the judge held that the proceedings before Justice Emeka Nwite had been legally terminated and that fresh bail applications must be filed. The judge further rejected attempts by Malami's counsel to move an oral bail application. Consequently, Justice Abdulmalik fixed March 6 for argument on the bail application and trial. Next is the case instituted by the Department of State Services filed before Justice Abdulmalik, who granted them 200 million naira bail with 2 sureties each, one of whom was on landed property, Eden Metamba Sokoro, among other conditions. Malami and his son were also ordered to submit their international passports and recent passport photographs to the court. The judge, however, ordered that they be remanded at Kuje Correctional Center pending when they perfect the bail conditions. A counsel to Malami speak on the cases.
In respect of the third matter, which is the one on the forfeiture proceedings, that came up for the applicants to show cause. And we informed the court that we had filed applications, different applications, challenging the interim forfeiture that was earlier granted by the Federal High Court.
Justice Joyce Abdul-Malik subsequently fixed March 4 for commencement of trial. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
Justice Chizoba Orji of the FCT High Court has granted bail of 10 million naira each to Senior Advocate of Nigeria Michael Zekome and his co-defendants shortly after the arraignment on a 12-count criminal charge brought against them by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. Mr. Zekome and his co-defendants, Pomfa Oseni, pleaded not guilty to the charges, which includes forging documents and an international passport and an irrevocable power of attorney to lay claim to a property in London allegedly procured unlawfully by the late General Jeremiah Oseni. Counsel to the AGF, Rotimi Oyedepo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, did not oppose that bail for the defendants when Mr. Zekome's counsel, Tayo Oyetibo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and Mr. Onoja, Senior Advocate of Nigeria for Mr. Oseni, applied for bail on behalf of the defendants. Justice Orji, who ordered them to deposit their international passports with the court, says that since the proceedings took place on Friday, the defendants can go to their houses if they are unable to meet the bail conditions, but they must return on Monday to do so. Meanwhile, Justice Ladinra Akintola of the Oyo State High Court, Ibadan, has affirmed the validity of the 2025 elective convention of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, which produced Dr. Kabiru Turaki as the substantive chairman of the party. Delivering judgment, the court upheld the amended originating summons filed by Musiaibu Adetunbi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, on behalf of the claimant Folahan Malomo Adelabi. Justice Akintola granted all 13 reliefs sought, ruling that the convention complied with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Electoral Act 2022 as amended, and other relevant electoral laws. The court further dismissed the motions seeking a stay of proceedings. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has been asked to issue clear, standardized rules and strengthening electronic transmission of results to protect votes and restore public confidence ahead of the 2027 general elections. Well, this call was made by Mr. Mike Ogoni at the policy roundtable hosted by Yaga Africa, where he warned that legal limitations in the current electoral framework could actually weaken transparency and trust. Our correspondent Benny Ark reports.
This policy roundtable on electoral technology and results management focuses on how digital tools can safeguard votes, close legal gaps, and strengthen public trust ahead of future elections.
But just to say on behalf of Yaga Africa,
the forum brought together electoral stakeholders, legal experts, civil society actors, and former election officials to review current laws and propose practical reforms. Leading discussions, the Executive Director of Yaga Africa, Mr. Samson Itodo, called for clear rules and consistent application of electoral technology.
Today, we would have, deeper conversations about the BVAS, about the IREV, because as we all agree, it's a game changer in our electoral process. But even though it is a game changer, it can also be a source of distrust in the electoral process.
Delivering the keynote address, Mr. Ogoni warned that any law that limits digital transmission risks undermining electoral credibility.
Even if you have the e-transmission removing the proviso, the attitude of the court is our greatest problem. That's my constituency. Charity must begin from home. And I've been calling my colleagues, both at the bar and the bench, that The viability of democracy lies in a very courageous judiciary that is independent, that be ready to call justice by its own name when the court fails to hold political elite accountable. It is the rule of law that gives viability to the practice of democracy.
Panelists also clarify legal provisions governing beavers and results upload, debating what is mandatory or discretionary, and the implications for transparency and dispute resolution.
Looking at the Act itself, the 2026 Electoral Act, I think the National Assembly has to do some, I don't know who has to do some house cleaning job, because why they named the beavers in the main place, they still left smart card reader in almost all the other sections of the Act.
If you snap that EC8A, it stays on that beavers. It stays there. It goes, when it reaches on your way to what? It picks the 3G, and the system was designed. Anytime it picks anything, send. However, even if you do not pick, that's where INEC comes in now. The thing is on beavers. Yeah. The beavers contains the accredited voters. If 500 people has come, is there.
The beavers, the expectation is if 100 people voted, the total valid vote is 100, the beavers should have 100 accredited voters. Now, if total number of votes cast is more than accredited voters as captured in the beavers, the result for that unit is nullified, is cancelled.
Participants are united in their opinion that stronger regulations, better infrastructure, and broader engagement are essential for technology-driven, trusted, and credible elections in Nigeria. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
And in a major political development, the governor of Adamawa State, Umaro Fintiri, has formally announced his defection from the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, to the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC. The defection was announced in a statewide broadcast as the governor addressed residents of the state. The defection marks a significant moment in Adamawa politics as PDP before now held sway in the state.
Governor Fintiri walks into the chambers of the governor's office and takes his seat to address citizens and residents in the statewide broadcast. The governor explains his decision, saying it was made in the interest of the people of Adamawa State and national unity, as he emphasizes the need for stronger alignment with the federal government to advance development priorities. In his address, the governor announced that all his cabinet members, appointees, elected local government chairmen are now members of the All Progressives Congress.
After wide consultation with a large spectrum of our people, we have resolved to politically align Adamawa State with the All Progressive Congress, APC. This alignment would enable Adamawa to effectively support and leverage the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, GCFR. The decision to leave the PDP and join the APC was not taken lightly. It was not driven by personal ambition nor by convenience.
The flag of the PDP at the council chambers is immediately removed by the aides of the governor. After his address, the governor proceeds to his office to be electronically registered as a member of the APC, alongside his deputy, Professor Fadauta, and other members of his cabinet. After registration, the governor displays his card to the media. Also addressing the media, the State Commissioner of Information and Strategy, on behalf of the commissioners, announces they are joining the ABC alongside the governor.
And we, the State Executive Council, has totally resolved, as you have heard from the chairman of the Commissioners Forum, wherever he will go, we will go.
They also display the symbol of the APC. With this development, Adamawa State is now the newest addition to the list of APC states in the country, as observers watch closely to see the turn of events following this political realignment in the states.
Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has reacted to that defection of Governor Omar Fintiri. A statement by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Eni Ememobong, says the move is a clear violation of political principles and morality and a threat to multi-party democracy and democratic consolidation. According to the PDP, for a person to abandon a platform that provided political coverage for him across many election cycles at the first sight of slight discomfort is an act of cowardice and a mark of an unprincipled politician. The PDP is now calling on party members in Adamawa State to accept the reality with grace, advising them to remain resolute in the hope that the rebirth movement of the PDP is on course. In part two, after the break, the Northeast Development Commission defends budget proposal of 244.06 billion naira, assures the National Assembly that it will prioritize the completion of ongoing projects and humanitarian services in its 2026 appropriation. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Federal High Court Abuja demands former Justice Minister Abubakar Malami's son Abdulaziz and wife Asabe in Kuje and Suleja prisons after Economic and Financial Crimes Commission's rearrangement over alleged money laundering. FCT High Court grants 10 million naira bail each to Senior Advocate of Nigeria Michael Zekome and his co-defendants after arraignment on 12 counts charge filed by Attorney General of the Federation's prosecutors in Abuja. And after months of speculation, Adamawa State Governor Omar Fintiri formally defects from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress, reshaping the state's political landscape ahead of elections. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton testifies in Jeffrey Epstein's probe, denying wrongdoing and insisting he saw nothing improper during all interactions and related matters. The governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, has asked state legislators nationwide to continue supporting their governors and the executive arm to sustain good governance and fast-track development. The governor made this call while hosting members of the Progressive Speakers Forum at the Imo State Governor's Lodge in Abuja, stressing the strong synergy between the legislature and the executive strengthens democracy and accelerates growth.
There is no federal governor without the subnational government together. So the governors are strong. Their failure represents our failure. Their successes represent our success. You, as speakers, a governor can only do well if he is receiving your support and collaboration. So you must learn how to work together. The overall interest of our people. And don't see yourself as outsiders. You are part and parcel of the government, particularly within our party. And now that I've met with you, I'll go back now, make your case, and ensure that all of you will go into one subcommittee and also urge you to continue to work in close harmony with your governments.
And Your Excellency, we are loyal. We are all loyal to our governments. And we are helping our governments. And we are assuring you of 100% loyalty. Anything you brought to us, we will do it without even you. And thank you for what you are doing to the APC and to Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That's the main essence of our committee.
The Northeast Development Commission has assured the National Assembly that it will prioritize the completion of ongoing infrastructural projects and humanitarian services in its 2026 appropriation. The Managing Director of the Commission, Mr. Mohammed Al-Khali, gave this assurance while presenting the agency's 2026 budget proposal and defending its 2025 performance before the lawmakers.
After critical review of our performance in 2025 and positive funding we received, we made some very critical and important assumptions. One is to complete all ongoing projects, so we don't have abandoned projects, and putting more emphasis on environmental protection and focus on critical infrastructures like bridges, roads, and irrigation, security, agriculture, power, and so on and so forth. We also have education, health, and empowerment, but our own number one assumption is to complete whatever we are starting so that we won't have abandoned projects. On the next page, we replicated the same component approach and allocated funds as we are. This year, we are given or appropriated 244.066 billion. And out of this, we follow the same pattern as we did last year and came up with some percentages, a componential allocation.
Members of the Joint Committee commended the Commission's interventions, especially in infrastructural development across the region, asking it to increase bursary and scholarship programs to boost educational development, recover the framework and roadmap for restoring socio-economic development in the region.
I also want to join my colleagues in commending you for the tremendous improvement. It wasn't like that even last year's budget. We have seen a sea change, so I want you to keep it up. And if need be, improve, just like you promised to improve on that.
Let's head to the nation's capital, Abuja now, where Gloria Umezoke is standing by to bring us more stories on the news at 10. Over to you, Gloria.
Thank you, Anne. Here in Abuja, the Defense Headquarters has defended the military assistance being provided by the United States government to Nigeria, saying it is offered at no cost and does not in any way undermine the nation's sovereignty. Speaking in Abuja while addressing journalists on ongoing military operations across various theaters, the Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Michael Onoja, says the support from the United States is focused on training Nigerian troops and strengthening ongoing counter-terrorism efforts. According to him, the cooperation over the last 2 months has already yielded positive outcomes, with more results expected in the coming days.
First, I want to start by acknowledging that we must appreciate the assistance that the United States government is providing to the Nigerian military to ensure that the issue of insecurity comes to an end. And the whole end state of that assistance is to make sure that Nigeria has an environment that is conducive for all its citizens to be able to live in peace, free from the threats of terrorists. As you know, the American government, its policy is to ensure that they pursue terrorists anywhere in the world in order to secure their own national interests and national security. So what they are doing in coming to our aid to assist us should not be considered abnormal.
In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has given directives to security agencies to address the escalating security situation in Bauchi State. The governor of Bauchi, Mr. Bala Mohammed, disclosed this after a closed-door meeting with the president at the State House, Abuja. The governor, who says he does not have any intention of defecting from the People's Democratic Party, reacted to developments in the political space.
situation of insecurity in my local government, Al-Galeri or Bauchi State, where some bandits have become so emboldened and they have taken over so many ungoverned spaces there, coming out from the Daji Madam. And we have been having some sporadic clashes and skirmishes with them, with the security agencies. But it would appear that the security agencies and all of us are overwhelmed, and the situation is escalating to a level where it will become a big humanitarian crisis. I have always said that I am a PDP man. I know the federal government and the importance of partnership. This is time for governance, and of course any governor can leave, because if it is Fintri's decision to leave, it may not be my decision. I'm not coming here for defection. I'm coming here for governance, for partnership. Give us kudos for what we have done in the FCT. At least you can see we are better than the big coalition that is everywhere. I don't want to mention their name because there are people I respect in that coalition. But PDP is a party that is everywhere, in every ward, in every corner of the country. It has a brand that has survived over the last 2 decades. And I think even APC will have to watch their own after coming out of primaries, because they are becoming very big like PDP. PDP became big and it exploded, not imploded. And I am not feeling lonely because I know my state.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's GDP expands by 4.07% in fourth quarter of 2025. That's on Business News. Let's join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. Still in Abuja, the Commandant General of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, Mr. Ahmed Audi, says all security agencies must come together if insecurity in Nigeria is to be nipped in the bud. Speaking at the commissioning of a command and control center donated by Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited to the NSCDC in Abuja, Mr. Audi says the Corps is ready to partner anyone with the aim of eradicating all forms of insecurity across Nigeria.
Officers and men of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps gathered at their national headquarters in Abuja for the commissioning of the Nuhu Ribadu Hydrocarbon and Maritime Security Command and Control Center. In his remarks, the Commandant General of the Corps declares that the NSCDC is ready to partner anyone committed to defeating all forms of insecurity in Nigeria.
We have also seen, really, that the best strategy to nip this quagmire in the bud is to really come together. All hands must be on deck, all security agencies, and we often say that no security agency has monopoly of any strategy. We must really come together, work together, operate together, use intelligence, act on the intelligence, especially if the intelligence is credible.
The building, which was donated by Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited, is in furtherance of their commitment to ensuring operational efficiency for security agencies.
This is how serious this job has become. And it is in the light of that when we are approached to support the civil defense with technology that is going to be enhancing their operations in the course of this duty, we couldn't hesitate than to support them with the necessary logistics and also with a state-of-the-art command and control center which they could use to execute their mandate and give the nation a better support. And also to the families who have lost loved ones in the course of this duty, that we pledge to stand by them. We will continue to stand by them. And in the light also of making your jobs better.
The Commandant General of the Corps is then taken to the facility where he commissions the building and 2 operational vehicles.
Make judicial use of this vehicle as they are donated by our partner, Tantita. Thank you and God bless you.
The NSCDC Commandant General also commissioned other projects executed by the Corps. Daily Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
We turn attention now to the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, which has graduated cohort 1.0 and onboarded cohort 2.0 of the Borno State Healthcare Fellows. The event, which took place in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, also witnessed the commissioning of the Zamari Primary Healthcare Center, named after the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate.
Hundreds of health professionals, as well as the officials of Borno State government, converged on Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, for the official graduation of cohort 1.0 and the onboarding of 2.0 cohort of Borno State Healthcare Fellows. The graduation marks another milestone in achieving universal healthcare coverage, especially in the conflict-affected areas.
What we're witnessing today really is the first prototype. I think it builds momentum. It allows us to understand that within this context, within this country, that as the Commissioner mentioned, there is enough talent to truly transform our health system through change agents.
Completing 1 year of service as cohort 1 has helped strengthen accountability. As you worked side by side with the performance and financial management officers, you have helped improve frontline coordination and data visibility. You have supported some of our very important programs, immunization, MNCH, and some of the other primary healthcare centered services. And because of you, we know that our citizens are now starting to rebuild trust.
In his remarks, Governor Babagana Zulum, represented by the Secretary to the Borno State government, pledged to support all healthcare initiative towards providing better healthcare to the people of the state. He also charged the graduates to put in their best, having acquired vast knowledge in their fields of study.
I want to assure you that His Excellency and His administration will continue to partner with the federal government, with your ministry, with your agency, to make sure that tertiary as well as primary health is being delivered to our less privileged and even the privileged, to prevent health stores and others outside of the that I assure you on behalf of His Excellency. And we will continue to partner as we agreed.
Highlights of the event is the graduation of the cohort 1.0 and the onboarding of the cohort 2.0.
That is from the nation's capital. It's over now to you, Anne, in Lagos, for more on the News at 10.
Thank you, Gloria. The hydrocarbon pollution remediation project has recorded 5 million man-hours without fatality or lost time injury. This was revealed by the management of the project during a celebration held at the Bomu Shoreline Remediation Site in Gokana local government area of Rivers State. Our correspondent Deborah Miefiberesima reports.
The hydrocarbon pollution remediation project, HYPREP, which commenced remediation activities in Ogoni land in 2017, is celebrating 5 million man-hours of work without any fatality nor major injury on the project. For HYPREP, the milestone reflects years of field operations across Ogoni land with zero loss of life and no loss of time incidents, a development the management describes as proof of a strong health, safety and environment culture. The project coordinator, Professor Nene Barini Zabe, who was represented by the Director of Technical Services, Professor Damian Paul Agui, commended HSC officers, site nurses, security personnel, community workers, and contractors for maintaining high standard across project sites.
The project we are running is like a relay race. Each person must hand over the baton properly to the next person to succeed. Your work is connected to other person's duty. Nobody works as an individual. We're all working together. That is why we must continue to do our work carefully, safely, and responsibly. Every role matters. Every effort counts.
Also speaking, the Renaissance Africa Energy Company joint venture representative in HYPREP described the 5 million man-hour record as outstanding.
We Projects like the ones we are doing now, environmental remediation and some other areas, infrastructural development, the risks are real and conditions can be demanding. Reaching this milestone demonstrates that safety is not just a requirement for hyper, but a rooted culture. It also shows what can be achieved when planning, training, and accountability are taken seriously at every level.
Traditional rulers from host communities also congratulated the project, but called for sustained monitoring of contractors and continued stakeholder engagement. Contractors and community workers' representatives, on their part, pledged to maintain safety standards as they work towards another 5 million man-hour LT-free milestone. As part of the event, reusable water flasks were distributed to staff in line with the project stance against single-use plastics, while contractors received recognition gifts for compliance with safety regulations.
On behalf of the project, we want to appreciate you for your contributions to the safety culture we are building.
With remediation works ongoing across impacted communities in Ogoni land, IRPEP says sustaining safety consciousness remains critical to protecting lives while restoring the environment. Deborah Miyafeberesima, Channels Television News.
Let's continue in the world of business. Dominic Iwewe is standing by to bring us those stories.
Thank you, Anne. And on business news, Nigeria's economy expanded by 4.07% in the fourth quarter of 2025, according to latest data by the National Bureau of Statistics. The figure shows stronger economic activity compared with 3.76% recorded in Q4 2024, despite ongoing inflation and cost of living pressures. According to the NBS, growth was driven mainly by the services sector and improved oil output. Analysts say sustaining growth will require higher investment, lower inflation, and stronger productivity across key sectors. Now, the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, says all cash payments at airports nationwide will end from March 1st. Travelers must now pay for services using electronic channels like POS, bank transfers, or online platforms. In a post on X, FAN says the move supports the federal government's cashless policy and will improve transparency, efficiency, and revenue tracking. Airport users are advised to prepare for the change, as the authority says the policy will take full effect nationwide. And it's another bearish close at the domestic stock market as profit-taking gains momentum. Inijo Mekwa tells us more.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Reports. Well, bearish sentiment has been sustained at the NGX for 4 trading sessions because today, the final trading day of the week and the month, we have a negative close. Market mover Dangote Cement experienced most of the profit taking. So today it lost 50 naira 50 kobo to close at 829 naira 50 kobo. Looking at the sectors, we see some recoveries, for 2 trading sessions now we've been seeing a negative close for banking, but today it's positive. The same corporates, one would say, the Access Co and UBA, Zenith Bank, most of the figures, they had some pleasant experiences today. Consumer goods is also positive. Dangote Sugar has been constantly experiencing profit taking, but today there's a recovery. Cadbury also, as well as Boa Foods, which moved the market 2 sessions ago. On the contrary, oil and gas today is down today because of Aradel, 0.26%. And so the close of trade market lost 475 billion naira. That brings the oil share down 0.38%. Losing the 193,000 level and now closing at 192,826.75 and the market cap at 123.763 trillion naira. So it's going to be a good weekend for the bear.
Thank you, Ini. Now let's see the performance of other major global equities. And that's it on Business News. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you. Well, outside our shores, former U.S. President Bill Clinton has testified in the ongoing Epstein probe, stating that he saw nothing and did nothing wrong. He says that Jeffrey Epstein hid his crimes from everyone so well for so long. Florida Democrat Maxwell Frost said the House Oversight Committee now has new questions for President Donald Trump following Bill Clinton's testimony. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Pakistan has bombed Afghan's capital Kabul as well as 2 other provinces after the Afghan Taliban announced a major offensive against Pakistani military posts near the border on Thursday night. Friday's events escalated a long-running conflict that has had the UN, China, Iran, Turkey and Saudi Arabia calling on both sides to stop fighting. Pakistani forces struck Kabul and the provinces of Kandahar and Pakatika, but the casualty count remains unclear. Several Pakistani ministers have praised the actions of their armed forces, including Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, who said his country's forces are able to crush its foes, while the defense minister has declared open war on the Afghan Taliban. A spokesperson for the Afghan Taliban said it has responded with renewed attacks against Pakistani troops. Hillary Clinton's testimony about the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has ended, with the former Secretary of State saying, "I want to see the truth come out." Proceedings were abruptly paused earlier in the day due to a photo leak from inside the closed-door session with U.S. lawmakers. Democrats on the Republican-led House Oversight Committee defended Clinton and say the release of the photo was completely against the rules. Speaking outside the hearing, she echoed her opening statement, which accuses the Republican-led House Oversight Committee of partisan political theater and called on them to request President Donald Trump testify.
I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times. It then got, at the end, quite unusual because I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet.
Russia says it has handed over the remains of 1,000 soldiers to Ukraine and has received the bodies of 35 soldiers in return. It comes as Ukraine's chief negotiator met US President Donald Trump's envoys in Geneva to discuss economic plans for the reconstruction of Ukraine after the war. Negotiators were also preparing a third round of US-led talks aimed at ending the conflict, which has entered its 5th year. Hours before the Geneva talks, Russia launched 420 drones and 39 missiles in 6 different regions of Ukraine, injuring dozens of people, according to Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Netflix has backed away from its proposal to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, clearing the way for Paramount Skydance to win a months-long battle for one of Hollywood's most storied studios in a deal worth around $111 billion. Warner Brothers, which put itself up for sale last year, said Paramount's latest bid was superior to the one from Netflix, which in turn refused to raise its offer. Netflix executives say they have declined to match the Paramount bid, as the deal is no longer financially attractive at that price. The buyer would gain control of the iconic studio, along with its films and media networks, a takeover that could significantly reshape the media landscape. Twitter co-founder Jack Dorsey says his technology firm Block is laying off almost half its workforce because artificial intelligence fundamentally changes what it means to build and run a company. The layoffs will mean a headcount at the company, which owns Square, Cash App and Tidal, will fall to less than 6,000 from 10,000. Block has seen several rounds of layoffs since 2024, but this is the first time it has cited AI as the reason for redundancies and marks the latest in a series of major job cuts in the tech industry. And the history of writing down thoughts and feelings could be tens of thousands of years older than previously believed. Archaeologists discovered discerning patterns of meaning in lines, notches, dots and crosses on objects like mammoth tusks as old as 45,000 years in caves in Germany. Traditionally, historians date the first written words to proto-cuneiform scripts made around 5,000 years ago in ancient Iraq or Mesopotamia. The precise meaning of the symbols in Germany remains a mystery. The objects are from just before Homo sapiens moved to Europe from Africa, where they interacted with Neanderthals.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon. In the world of sports, the National Sports Commission and the Kaduna State government have signed an MOU transferring the Ahmadu Bello Stadium to the state for immediate rehabilitation. The agreement comes after President Bola Tinubu approved the establishment of the National Sports Infrastructure Development Board. With this agreement, the Ahmadu Bello Stadium's capacity will increase from 12,000 to 32,000. Super Eagles goalkeeper Mas Obasogie has been suspended for 3 months by Tanzanian club Singida Black Stars pending investigations into allegations of match fixing. The club did not specify which matches or incidents prompted the probe. The 26-year-old former Bendel Insurance goalkeeper now faces an uncertain future as investigations into the matter we hear are ongoing. Let's turn to the UEFA Champions League now, where Real Madrid and Manchester City will face off in a knockout tie for the 5th season running after being drawn to play each other in the last 16, while holders PSG will take on Chelsea. Arsenal will top the Champions League table with a perfect record, face German side Bayer Leverkusen. Newcastle United will face Barcelona. More updates for you. 6-time winners Liverpool take on Galatasaray, while Tottenham Hotspur have been handed a tie against Atletico Madrid. The first legs will take place on March 10 and 11, with the second legs a week later. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has admitted that he's expecting another tough Premier League clash against an informed Leeds United with a noisy Elland Road crowd behind them. City make the short trip to West Yorkshire on Saturday to face Daniel Farke's side. United have only been beaten twice in their last 16 matches in all competitions. And that's your sports news tonight. I am Kelly Egigas. Back to Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. Federal High Court Abuja has remanded former Justice Minister Abubakar Malami, his son Abdulaziz and wife Asabe to Kuje and Suleja prisons after Economic and Financial Crimes Commission's rearrangement over alleged money laundering charges. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I am Anne Nwawodo. Have a wonderful weekend. Good night.